I want my baby back, baby back, baby back.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my
baby back rib.
Hello, today I'll be practicing drawing the torso. The ribs and pelvis are the two main structural components of the torso in figure drawing, so when drawing your characters, it's important to have a basic understanding of the fundamental outlines to construct the human figure to make dynamic poses from different angles. After experimenting and playing around with some angles, I was able to come up with a really interesting shape like this, and you can find this on my Instagram below. So to get started, the rib shape from the front is a simple egg shape. The end of the sternum and the opening of the rib cage is about 1/3 from the bottom where the width is the longest. We'll tackle the ribs from the front, side, and 3/4 angle in 3 tilts: eye level, tilted down, and tilted up. And to do this, we need to think in 3D with simpler shapes, so we'll frame them with cubes. Let's start with the front view. At eye level, it's a simple egg shape. I'm going to put lines on the sides following the opening of the rib cage. Now the ribs are a rounded structure, but these lines will delineate the front plane from where it curves more for a side plane. You don't have to do this when you're actually sketching a figure, but for the purposes of thinking in planes, I'll sketch it here. To make your sketches rough and more decisive, you can also straighten out the curved lines, so you can get an idea of the form, but not have to stress about the exact curvature. From here, I'll outline the rest of the torso with the collarbone at the top of the ribs, connecting to the shoulder at the top. Then the circle below is where the pelvis will be, with the area in between being the stomach area. We're going to repeat this again quickly for the tilt down. Here, just notice where the sternum ends and where the rib opens up. The placement will appear lower. And the collarbones may be curved more downward. Notice how the pelvis is positioned closer to the ribs, but is clearly under. And then when it's tilted up, the opposite happens, where the opening looks much bigger as the end of the sternum is placed much higher on the egg shape. Now notice how the pelvis actually covers the bottom of the rib opening. It sounds very obvious, but just reminding yourself where things are positioned in space will really help and will become second nature after some practice. Next, we have the side view of the ribs. I like to think of this shape as a rounded triangle with 3 curves. The back is a lot more straighter than the front, as the front curves out more and lower on the body like so. Next, I'm going to sketch in the line where the rib is, and I'm going to position the pelvis towards the front and back. Here I want to demonstrate the gesture of the pose through the pinch of the gesture. You can either arch the back or bend over, just by the positioning and the strokes of the lines. The pinch between the rib and pelvis is key in developing the posture of the pose. I'm going to shade in the side plane to delineate the planes. I've gotten requests before to draw traditionally, so I just wanted to give a shout out to those viewers. I hear you loud and clear and decided to change it up and just draw my sketchbook today. Let me know if you like this format and I'll try to mix it in along with my digital art videos. I want to do sketches eventually talking about less technical topics in making comics and manga and just drawing at the same time, but would love to hear what you think. Now we're going to tilt the ribs down in the side view. The main thing to look at is the widest part is more towards the vanishing point. So that point will make up that silhouette at the bottom as it covers the bottom part of the rib. This will make the ribs look shorter vertically. Now when drawing the shoulder balls, position it lower than where the neck is positioned. Notice how I'm stacking the stomach area above the pelvis and then the ribs above the pelvis. I'll do a structure video on the pelvis in a later video, but for now we're just focusing on the ribs. Now looking at the ribs tilted up, you can see the bottom plane, which is the opening of the rib cage, as the top of the rib is more narrow widthwise. Inversely, the shoulder ball is positioned above the neck. When the ribs are tilted up, the collarbones are curved more upward, but if it's tilted down, it's curved more downward. Most of the bottom plane is covered by the pelvis though. Lastly, we'll draw the ribs in 3/4 view. For this, when using the cube method, it's important to delineate in your head where the front plane ends and the side plane begins. This will determine the separation of the planes on an otherwise round object. We do this because round objects make it difficult to decide their orientation in space. I'm going to draw in the stomach and pelvis here. So the same things apply when you tilt the ribs up and down. The sternum ends lower when viewing from above, and the sternum appears to end higher when viewing from below. You also have to watch for shoulder placements and the curvature of the collarbone. As I finish up these last ribs tilted up and down, the major takeaways in drawing the outline of the torso is to learn how to orient the object in space with basic shapes, be mindful of the position of the body parts in relation to the ribs in different positions, and to be more decisive with your lines, especially with rounded shapes, to help develop a defined gesture, especially in connecting the ribs and pelvis to make the posture. Hopefully this is starting to become more apparent, but you don't have to be an anatomy expert. I'm definitely still learning, but using basic shapes and circles and rectangles, along with just a basic understanding of how things connect, will help you make the figure in cool poses. With that, we wrap up our video. If you found this content helpful, please consider leaving a thumbs up below, and subscribe if you want to see more content about creating comics and manga. If you want to follow my other social media and work, the links are in the description. Finally, if you have any suggestions for future videos you'd like to see, please feel free to leave a comment below. I'll see you guys next time.